What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So the last Olympia qualifier of this year for the men's open bodybuilding is now in the history books. And we're gonna have to wait for quite a few months before we see the men's open bodybuilding guys back on the stage again. Because the next show in line, that is gonna be happening next year. And that is gonna be the Arn Classic in March. So let's talk about the Big Man Weekend Spain, as Akim Williams dominates this show and gets a very early Olympia qualification. And I have got to say quite an easy one at that. And this was pretty much expected, as this was the easiest show to predict as far as the winner was concerned. And the reason was simply Akim Williams, a top 10 guy from this past Miss Olympia, still competing 8 weeks post Olympia. And nobody in this lineup was good enough for Akim, considering how great he looked throughout this year. So Akim Williams peaking absolutely spot on in 6 shows in just one calendar year, proving to us all that big guys like him, they can be close to their personal best in almost every single show. So from the moment that prejudging started, Akim was kept in the center stage. The judges never moved him. And I have got to say it is kinda too bad that Akim's back, especially the back double biceps, it isn't as good, not even close, as his front. Because if that were the case, he would have placed much higher than top 10 at this past Miss Olympia. I mean, even with this week back, at the finals of the Olympia this year, the scorecard showed us that he could have been as high as top 7. And now that Akim hasn't an early qualification, he has the whole year to focus on his back and bring a much better package the next time he steps on stage, which in my opinion is most probably gonna be the Olympia next year. So Horsemdi aka Marcelo, he must be extremely happy with the placings here. Getting second here, that makes it his highest placing ever since he turned pro. And I believe this was definitely Horse's best conditioning to date. Plus the size that he brought, the size that he had over a mare who was the most conditioned and the most right guy out of the top 3 this year, that made a strong case for him for second place behind Akim Williams. So was there any pose in which Horsemdi beat Akim Williams? I think maybe the rear lat spread, and that's pretty much it. You can see the comparisons of the top 2 and immediately notice that Akim is a very seasoned bodybuilder. He's a veteran of the sport. And you can see that this man has been competing for a decade now, because he has that insane muscle maturity and so much density. Especially in comparison to a guy like Horsemdi, who needs more time to get more maturity, as this was only his second year as a pro. So the idea of Horsemdi doing the post-Olympia shows, and all of them, that was actually really great. And it turned out really good for him. Now it is kinda bad luck for him that each and every one of these shows, it had very fierce competitors in it. But that being said, Horsemdi must be really happy with this result. Now I have no idea whether he can do something about his wide waistline, his midsection, that seems to have grown a lot over the last 2 years, because that is one of his major flaws, especially in some of the front shots. So a mere one of the youngest men's open IFB pros, he ends another successful season by placing top 3 here at the Big Man Weekend. Now, if it was the old Olympia qualification system, a male would have qualified for the Olympia based on the points alone. But that isn't the case anymore. And you have got to win a show to enter the Olympia. I mean, just look at some of his placings that he got throughout this year in a number of shows. He was 3rd in Romania, 3rd here in Spain, 2nd in California Pro, 3rd in Portugal, and 3rd at Flex Pro Italy. Now that is what you call one hell of a season for a guy who is just 25 years old. And we have to keep in mind, this was only his 2nd year as a pro. Now we know he was aiming to get his first pro win, but he's getting close with every passing year. So out of the top 3 here, Amir had the best back double biceps, and his conditioning was also so damn good, the best out there, and so impeccable. So what a great return for Marc Hector to the stage after a 2 years gap, and that too after going through 2 shoulder surgeries. So 2 years ago, back in 2022, Marc Hector came so close to getting his Olympia qualification. So there was just 1 point difference between him and Patrick Johnson for the win. But the man is now back. Now Marc Hector has a great upper half, very round, very full, very 3D muscle bellies, awesome shoulder to waist ratio. But I have got to say he still needs more legs in order to be more complete and more combative to have more taper, but that is still a good result for him, considering he was able to beat a guy like Andrea Presti. Now talking about Andrea Presti, we don't have to be even remotely surprised that the judges put him in 5th. They are giving him a clear-cut signal, a very clear direction that his physique won't be rewarded if he doesn't bring up his quads. Just look at that back double biceps from Andrea Presti. Incredible upper back with extremely weak hamstrings and glutes. So this was the first time in the last 3 years where Andrea Presti wasn't able to make it to the Olympia stage after getting second in 3 shows back to back. And these last 2 shows, Prague and Spain, he got his lowest placings in quite a while. And considering the number of guys who are making their comebacks in the men's open bodybuilding next year, it is gonna get harder and harder for Andrea Presti to get his Olympia qualification, especially if he doesn't do anything about his legs. And maybe this is a sign for him to go for a long off season and maybe compete close to the Olympia next year, or maybe take the whole year off and bring up his legs. Now this was a huge lineup, and it is very rare that we see more than 6 guys in the first call out. But here we saw an initial call out of 7 guys. So Christian Volsky and Louis Breed, they were also in the first call out. And Louis Breed finished ahead of Christian Volsky in 6th, and Christian was 7th. So overall, this concludes a great men's open bodybuilding season, with 3 guys qualifying in the post-Olympia tour for the Olympia next year: Rafael Brandao, Martin Fitzwater, and Akim Williams. Now let's take a look at some updates. So Stefan as a coach just isn't a human. He must be a robot. Because guess what? Another men's open pro just announced that he has been working with Stefan, and that is Blessing Avodibu. And Blessing is currently weighing in 320 plus pounds, the heaviest he has ever been throughout his career, and in a very good off-season body composition as well. Now I have got to say, at this rate, Stefan is gonna make all these other coaches go out of business, because if we just look at the men's open roster that he currently has, that is 8 guys working with him. And that's not even counting Brett Wilkin, because he hasn't officially announced it, which I'm sure he will. And that is just 1 plus. Do not forget about Sean Carida from the 212, and 2 of the top guys in Classic, Ors Klashinsky and Vasi Vizers. So I have no idea how he can manage so much workload. But apparently he can. And even Martin, the biggest name in his arsenal, he said he has no problems in terms of Stefan working with so many guys, because the man is just so good at it. So the reputation of Stefan speaks for itself. And if he can pick Blessing the way he has done with others all this year, if he can bring him in at 100%, it is obviously going to be fun to watch Blessing, who just hasn't unlocked his true potential. And keep in mind, he hasn't competed since Flex Pro Italy last year. So this might be an even better transformation than what we are all expecting. Because not only Blessing will be absolutely ripped, but the man is gonna be a lot bigger than last year. Now make no mistake, if Blessing brings a more balanced physique, a more balanced package, if he can stop his legs from flattening out in the peak week, I am very sure that he is gonna win shows next year and he is gonna be back on the Olympia stage. Now he has got a great upper body, very impressive aesthetics, and unlike the other pros who are mostly lacking from behind, Blessing has a great back as well. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.